A disturbing article here. Common Dreams, I'll link it in the description box down below. Warnings of possible cover-up in progress as Trump orders hospitals to stop sending coronavirus status to the CDC. And then the subheadline, while many governments suppress the virus, the U.S. suppresses information about the virus. So it's public health experts are warning that coronavirus statistics will soon be newly vulnerable to political manipulation after the Trump administration ordered hospitals to send COVID-19 patient data directly to a Department of Health and Human Services system rather than the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which usually receives the information and releases it to the public. The New York Times reported Tuesday that the HHS database, now positioned to collect daily COVID-19 information from hospitals, is, quote, is not open to the public, which could affect the work of scores of researchers, modelers, and health officials who rely on CDC data to make projections and crucial decisions. So it's basically the Trump administration possibly trying to manipulate this data, make it harder for people to get access to downplay the number of cases, because the Trump administration has totally failed this pandemic from a public health aspect from the start of it. And this is him and his administration trying to maybe fudge with the numbers a little bit, make them seem not as bad as they actually are, when the U.S. is seeing record number of cases right now, when a lot of other countries have seen their cases, decrease dramatically because they've actually listened to the doctors and the public health experts and not made it a political issue as the Trump administration has. Health and Human Services said that going forward, hospitals should report detailed information on a daily basis directly to the new centralized system, which is managed by Teletracking, a health data firm with headquarters in Pittsburgh, the Times reported. The administration's new directive came in the form of a document quietly posted online last week by HHS, an agency headed by former pharmaceutical executive and Trump appointee Alex Azar. As of July 15, 2020, hospitals should no longer report the COVID-19 information in this document to the National Healthcare Safety Network site, the directive states, referring to the CDC's data gathering information. And so basically what they were saying up here is this data would no longer, it's not open to the public, which could affect the work of people, doing research around it. It's not a good look, obviously. Dr. Nicole Lurie, who served in former President Barack Obama's HHS, told the Times that, quote, centralizing control of all data under the umbrella of an inherently political apparatus and dangerous and breeds distrust, yeah, right, appears to cut off the ability of agencies like the CDC to do its basic job, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, right? HHS spokesperson Michael Caputo confirmed in a statement to NBC News that the CDC will no longer control coronavirus data collection, but said the agency will still participate in the process. Oh my God. Again, like that subheadline said, a lot of governments are trying to suppress the virus. The U.S. government is trying to suppress data on the virus. Kind of very, very disgusting and troubling, obviously. While administration officials portrayed the order as part of an attempt to streamline data collection efforts, health experts were alarmed by the move given President Donald Trump's public attacks on the CDC and his complaints about how the recent surge in coronavirus cases makes us look bad. It makes him look bad, definitely, because his administration has been just a complete and utter failure from a public health perspective with this virus, downplaying it from the start, not wearing masks, cutting the budget to the CDC, cutting the pandemic experts, in China, all these things, speechless. The Trump White House is now muzzling, bypassing, and kneecapping the CDC, tweeted epidemiologist Dr. Eric Feigelding. No other way to spin this. Dr. Lena Wen, a visiting professor at the Milken Institute of Public Health at George Washington University, said in an interview on MSNBC late Tuesday that the decision to cut off the CDC from crucial COVID-19 patient data could undermine the U.S. response to the pandemic as infections surge across the nation. Again, the response has already been abysmal and horrible on every level from the Trump administration, and this just is going to make it even worse, breeding distrust, kneecapping, this process. It's hugely disgusting. And again, these numbers are continuing to spike because all these governors not taking it seriously, people that support Trump, like DeSantis in Florida, like the governor in Arizona, as well as the fact that it's been an abysmal, abject failure from the Trump administration from treating this from a public health perspective and not politicizing it. And so by doing this, I think the goal is to obviously fudge with the numbers, hide them as much as possible so people don't have access to actually how huge of an issue this pandemic still is in the United States and how it reflects so poorly on the Trump administration. That's the whole reason behind this, not to streamline the process. The CDC is supposed to analyze the data coming from different regions of the country, said Wen. I'm really deeply concerned about what we've seen with the attacks on science and public health in recent days because public health hinges on public trust, indeed. And hiding these numbers is not going to help public trust, obviously. And when politicians, including the top public official, the elected official of our country, President Trump, starts attacking public health, it really undermines all of our state and federal response to this pandemic. And this just encapsulates it so perfectly. While many governments suppress the virus, the U.S. suppresses information about the virus. I mean, the U.S. is just a failed state in so many ways. I mean, for God's sake, this is just another example. I'm trying not to swear as much in these videos because some people are triggered by that. So that was me catching my tongue then. The administration's order came just hours after 4 former CDC directors wrote in a Washington Post op-ed Tuesday that, quote, no president ever politicized the CDC science the way Trump has. Trying to fight this pandemic while subverting scientific expertise is like fighting blindfolded, wrote Tom Frieden, Jeffrey Kaplan, David Sachter, and Richard Besser. It is not too late to give the CDC its proper role in guiding this response, but the clock is ticking. In a column for Esquire today, Charles Pierce urged hospitals to ignore the Trump administration's directive and send the data to the CDC anyway. It's time for hundreds of little rebellions indeed. These hospitals, frankly, should keep sending that data to the CDC and not the political apparatus that is HHS, headed by a Trump lackey, a former pharmaceutical executive. So really disgusting. And this headline, says it all. Warnings of possible cover-up in progress as Trump orders hospitals to stop sending coronavirus data to the CDC after attacking them because the cases have been going up because of the massive failings from his administration treating this as the public health crisis that it is and continues to be and not politicizing it. So really troubling, but again, not surprising. Trump really only cares about himself and his political power and getting elected, and he thinks by trying to hide the data, these cases continuing to rise, that it'll help his political prospects, and that's all it is about. It's disgusting, but again, not surprising coming from Trump or his administration. Peace.